So do you believe that Islam is consistent with the Constitution?
No, I don't. I do not. I would not advocate that we put a Muslim in charge of this nation. I absolutely would not agree with that.
And welcome back. That, of course, was Dr. Ben Carson sharing his feelings that Islam is inconsistent with the Constitution. Now, Donald Trump has also come under attack for things he said and a few things he hasn't said about Muslims.
Well, we could be politically correct if you want, but certainly, are you trying to say we don't have a problem? Because I think everybody would agree. I have friends that are Muslims. They're great people, amazing people, and most Muslims, like most everything, I mean, these are fabulous people, but we certainly do have a problem. I mean, you have a problem throughout the world.
What's the problem?
Well, you have radicals that are doing things. I mean, it wasn't people from Sweden that blew up the World Trade Center.
Now, it's comments like that that have resulted in headlines like this from the Washington Post. Republicans pander to anti-Muslim bigotry. But for some supporters of Islam, it has gone much too far. Muslim activist Rula Jibril has not been happy with how American Muslims have been characterized during the GOP presidential race.
What does Muslims in America have to do with that? Why they need to be criminalized because of that? Would we ever accept a presidential candidate that would apply the same rules, would say the same things about Jews and black? We would never tolerate them, would never respect them, would never expect it, even accept them. We will shun them aside. But we accept it against Muslims because sadly, in the Republican base, this is what is appealing to them today.
And Rula had a little bit more to say on the subject.
In the realm of possibility, in a country that is very armed, that somebody that will be carrying weapon will go to a mosque tomorrow or after tomorrow and will start shooting people. And then these people will have blood on their hands, all of them.
So the question must be asked, are the Republican leaders, particularly those running for president, criminalizing and or demonizing the Muslim religion in America, Joe Concha?
Boy, I wish Rula had that kind of passion when I've
She's
seen her
upset.
on CNN.
She's upset.
When we're talking about ISIS cutting people's heads off, she gets awfully indignant when it comes to talking about presidential candidates and everything. But she should be speaking out about Muslim crimes in the same kind of passion.
Wait. Let me interrupt you, because that is her point. Yes, there are Muslims around the world doing some unbelievably horrible things. The point she was making in that show, whether you agree or not, was why are we holding American Muslims responsible for not things that they're doing, but things that are happening in other parts of the world?
How do we jump to the narrative that we're holding American Muslims responsible?
Well, that was her point.
Because Ben Carson said, I don't think that a Muslim should be president because the Quran doesn't jive with our Constitution?
Well, she's saying they're being demonized. And by the way, that is a problem with what he said. Unless he's prepared to say that canon law should be treated the same way. You have to realize that Sharia law is a legal system for the Muslim believers. Canon law is the legal system for Catholic believers. But do you believe nobody's worrying about that getting? Do
you believe Ben Carson's a bigot, or he just has a difference of opinion and thinks that a Muslim, which is a ridiculous argument, by the way, because there will never be a Muslim president in our lifetimes, because the brand is damaged. What's that?
It's not a ridiculous argument. I agree with you that it won't happen, but that's not a reason to not talk about it, because what Ben Carson suggested, I'm not going to say if he's a bigot or not. I don't know him well enough, but I will say that what he suggested is not in line with the United States Constitution.
It's not, and he's clarified that in further remarks. He has a problem.
He's tried to back away from
he has said if people believe in canon law, that's wrong. If people believe in Sharia law, it's inconsistent with the Constitution.
I'm going to protect him. He didn't say it was wrong to believe in
canon law. You're right. You're right. No, but he's saying if you're going to be president, you have to abide by constitutional law, not by canon law, not by Sharia law. And the people who are demonizing Muslims in America are other Muslims.
Why did he single out Muslims? Because Muslims can believe in the Constitution.
Well, let's be clear.
In America?
Rick, he was
Have you not seen an American journalist get their head cut off?
He was talking about Americans running for president.
Let's go slow. He was asked about Muslims, so he responded. Okay. And his response included a falsity and a truth to the statement. He said Islam, is not consistent with the Constitution. That's not correct. But it is correct that Islam, as it is lived by the vast majority of 1.2 billion Muslims around the world, is not consistent with the Constitution. Islam, as is lived by probably over 1 billion of the world's Muslims, is not. It is totalitarian. It doesn't need to be. A Muslim could be president of the United States. If there's one shot at it, will be in this country. We're missing the really important comment, which was the comment made to Donald Trump, which was that we have to get rid of Muslims. His failure was not responding to that. That was a call for mass deportation or murder.
By the way.
This one was supposed to be for you. But since you just gave a speech, it's now for Tucker.
Feel free.
So
That's
Tucker,
the speech we need to hear.
If you make a trip to the Library of Congress and you go into the Thomas Jefferson collection, you'll find that Jefferson's well-worn copy of the Koran is sitting there amongst his literary possessions. Right. And did you know that John Adams, one of our great forefathers, once wrote that the Prophet Muhammad was a sober inquirer after truth? Or for that matter, were you aware that Benjamin Franklin once stated that a Muslim missionary sent by the Mufti of Constantinople would find there was a pulpit at his service in this country. So they didn't have this problem with Muslims and Islam. Why do we want to look at this now and start and have people out there running for president saying, I can't support somebody who's a Muslim for president?
Well, first I'm going to refer back to Brad's speech because he articulated it also well, so thank you, Brad. But no, Carson has been very careful in subsequent interviews. He's doubled down on the fact that no, he cannot support somebody who is a Muslim running for president because he believes that if they're living in accordance with Sharia law, they're in contradiction. They're not in line with the Constitution.
And that's not fair. That's actually not correct. There are ways to interpret and live according to, but most do not. And the reason the Founding Fathers were loose with Muslims, they didn't know any. It was a theoretical.
It was a media-driven narrative against the GOP, asking these questions of them. And also, that was a plant at that Trump rally, by the way. No one talks about that.
Be sure to get your copy of Dr. Carson's New York Times best-selling book, One Nation, What We Can All Do to Save America's Future, by going to newsmax.com/Ben or calling 1-800-655-7567. Do it right now to get your free copy today. Coming up next, Donald Trump and his tax plan.